Tim's News Explosion. 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 Tim's News Explosion.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's edition of Tim's News Explosion. We are live on the Wilms Front YouTube and DLive channels, as well as on the Enhanced Entropy software. Yes, back live tonight. So if you want to interact with me live in the show, obviously there's the YouTube live chat, but there's also Entropy to ask a direct question or to support the show, and the Unshackled send through a super chat. Tonight is we're back on Monday. It's the 14th of February 2022. Happy Valentine's Day. It is 8:30 p.m. here in Melbourne, Victoria, where on this date last year we were in the middle of lockdown number 3 that Dan Andrews put us in. It was the only short, sharp lockdown. How many times did we hear that in 2021? It only lasted 5 days. It was triggered by the hotel quarantine leak from the Holiday Inn at Melbourne Airport, which led to a cluster of cases. As the cases grew, Dan and Chief Health Officer Brett Sutton wet the bed and thought that this handful of cases was going to trigger a third wave, and so did this snap lockdown to ruin Valentine's Day. But what is it now? On this Valentine's Day, we had another 7,000 new daily cases. There's thousands of active cases all across the country. Now, with this Valentine's Day, I did hear that a lot of single people booked in their booster doses for today because they wanted some form of bodily penetration on this day here. For COVIDian couples, even though they would have had all their jabs and their boosters, they still would be paranoid about the virus everywhere, so would be partaking in COVID-safe romantic activities, maybe kissing with a mask on, like Kamala Harris and her husband, or maybe they're testing each other in bed. I know that ABC Radio National host Patricia Karvelis believes that rapid testing her partner and vice versa is a new romantic thing that they do. And she said the pandemic just keeps on giving. So we have now the Novavax vaccine coming on board today on this Valentine's Day. So just like there's lots of flowers to choose from now, there's lots of also vaccines as well. And now we had the Atagi vaccine advice update, where they didn't say you'd need the third jab or booster to be considered fully vaccinated, just within 3 to 6 months to be deemed up to date with your vaccination schedule. And so this news.com.au article commented on much of the reaction to, it is essentially a moving of the goalpost. Anti-boosters fume over fully vaccinated definition change. News that Australians require a booster shot to be considered fully vaccinated against COVID-19 has been met with a mixed online response. Yeah, because where does it end after this? We had the Herald Sun published today some information about the the people in hospital, breaking it down between unvaccinated, double vaccinated, and triple vaccinated. So the triple vaccinated make up 7.9% of people in ICU on February 8th. The double vaccinated make up 60.5%, and the unvaccinated make up 20.9%. And their interpretation of this data based on the various figures in Victoria, the proportion that make up vaccinated, double vaccinated, and triple vaccinated, they concluded that the unvaccinated 34 more times likely to be in ICU than someone who has received 3 doses, 7.6 times more like this is for double vaccinated, 7.6 times more likely to be in ICU than someone who has had 3 doses. So this comes to hospital admissions per 100,000 people. Unvaccinated, around 3%, double vaccinated, 2.3%, and triple vaccinated, 0.5%. There's roughly 50% of Victorians over the age of 16 who've had a booster. I think the rate of child vaccination for first dose 5 to 11 is about the same. We had, though, in the Australian last week, they reported that the death toll so far this year after third COVID-19 vaccine is at 100 plus. So obviously, if you deep dive into many of the daily COVID reports by the state governments, they've revealed that a lot of triple vaccinated triple vaccinated people are in those numbers. The total, as that article said, is over 100, and obviously it's safe to assume that many of them would be quite old or have a pre-existing underlying severe health conditions. But of course, we don't know whether they died with COVID or from COVID, because they record any person who dies, they test for COVID no matter how they died. So if they were in a car accident and they were and their deceased body tested positive for COVID, they'd be a COVID death there. So this is with these sorts of statistics. This is why people are legitimately so worried about the moving goalposts. I mean, according to the Dan Andrews definition, because I'm due for my booster, it's past 3 months since I had my second dose, but I'm in no rush to get my booster because I was already exposed to COVID as a close contact, and well, I didn't test positive, but probably had it, so I've got some sort of immunity as well. So I guess I'd be called an anti-booster person. And we've seen Israel, the poster nation for the initial booster, because that helped flatten their Delta curve in the middle of 2021. They rolled out the fourth dose this winter, and it hasn't worked very well. They're at record cases. Well, they've got the twin waves of both flu and COVID, the Flurona wave there. So there is the benefit. A lot of experts have said the benefit that comes from a fourth dose is extremely marginal. And we had the director of the Doherty Institute, Sharon Lewin, said last week, boosters every 6 months is not a viable strategy. And this is why the Convoy to Canberra protests, the main protests every weekend, have grown in in each week. There was another huge crowd in Canberra, and there were several disinformation, fake news tactics that the mainstream media and the far left politicians use to discredit them. The most obvious one was to downplay the numbers. They said there was only 10,000 at the Canberra convoy, but this is drone footage. Which, well, you can make up your own mind if you're watching this. How many thousands of people were there? Yes, as you can see, there was close to a million. I wouldn't say quite millions, but tomorrow, VI media reports, some said as low as 100. That was some tried to claim. Mainstream media settled on 10,000. It's because there were so many, it's just so hard to tell. But thank goodness for drone technology, citizen drones able to get past the mainstream media's fake reporting of numbers. Colin Penfolds has mentioned that Lifeline cancelled their book fair because of this. Yes, because they believed the mainstream media fake intelligence narrative that there was violent extremists there who were going to commit violent extremism and storm the parliament. Fun fact about Australian history, the only people to storm the Australian parliament, commit an insurrection, was the trade union movement in 1996. They to protest John Howard's modest industrial relations laws in 1996. they decided that they would angrily storm the Parliament. They vandalised the gift store and left lots of damage there. Now, of course, protests around Parliament House in Canberra are nothing new. Or the left go there all the time, but when it's not a cause that the left support or they're comfortable with the crowd, they say that it's scary. And this was posted by Matt Canavan. He was one of the politicians present there. Pauline Hanson, leader of One Nation. Her deputy Malcolm Roberts was there. Coalition senators Jared Rennick, Matt Canavan, George Christensen in the House was there, and Craig Kelly, now leader of the United Australia Party, was there as well. So aftermath of Greenie protest, there is vandalism on the outside of Parliament, and there's, well, you can see the damage there. Aftermath of anti-mandate protest. Yeah, as you can see, no rubbish, no damage there. The ACT police, they evicted the Convoy members who were staying at Epic, the exhibition park in Canberra. They were probably hoping for the ACT police that there would be some sort of confrontation where they'd have to decamp them aggressively and violently. That didn't happen there because they are peaceful people who are there. The narrative was put forward by especially senior Labor politicians such as Christina Keneally, saying there were violent extremists there, and that was the narrative there, that even though nothing happened, it could happen, and that's why Lifeline cancelled their book fair, even though they could have held it peacefully. But they believe that fake intelligence, and it gave the mainstream media a chance to demonize the protesters and say, look, they're cancelling a fundraiser for mental health. But the ACT government cut them a $25,000 check for the book fair, and heaps of people donated anyway when they heard the fair wasn't on. So Lifeline still got lots of funds, which is important there. And now the other narrative that was put forward, that these extremist feral invaders were disturbing the harmonious and fully, one of the most were disrupting one of the most fully vaccinated jurisdictions in the world. I think Canberra is something like ACT, I should say, is 98% double vaccinated. And so this was the Sunday Canberra Times. Now go home. This is something that Albo said as well. But if you're an Australian resident and citizen, you're allowed to go anywhere in the country, and Canberra is the capital where the parliament makes laws, where the government makes decisions. If you chose to live in Canberra, you would be used to a lot of people gathering to protest all of the time. It's funny because it's supposedly a progressive town, but they're telling all these outsiders to get out of our town. This was one angry boomer in the Canberra traffic on Saturday afternoon.
What do you think of what's going on right now, mate?
I think it's bloody ridiculous. There's no common sense at all. I mean, vaccination's the only thing saving the population.
Do you reckon vaccinations are saving us?
Absolutely. At my age, I need it. Somebody like you may not. You're a cunt.
I'm a what?
You're a cunt.
Oh, all right. Thank you for that kind word. You might want to put your mask on again.
Oh, get fucked, you prick. Piss off. Go back to where you came from. You ridiculous.
But we saw that as I said, they called the convoy members, drivers, protesters, ferals. But the most feral person in Canberra that weekend was not a person who was there to peacefully protest. It was, well, a woman who claimed that she was a resident of Canberra, Chantal Jasmine Fox, who has become a D-grade celebrity. Here is a montage of her road rage and then her Instagram raging afterwards.
Get the fuck out of Canberra! Nobody wants you to fuck here! Nobody wants you here! Nobody wants you here! Get the fuck out of my country, girl! You don't like it! Hey! I'm falling around in the news. Oh, yeah, boy! Look at your area! You fucking look like a... What are you doing? You fucking bogan slut. Get the fuck out of Canberra. Go get a job and find something better to do with your fucking
What have you done?
What have you done?
Can I please have your license?
Honey, you just reversed into me. I have a fucking
Sorry, we're at a traffic light
Yeah,
and
you
you
can say whatever you want, and you can put whatever you want, sweetheart. The media doesn't care about you.
I'm not talking
They
to
don't
the
care about
media.
you. Oh, what's that? What are you looking for?
Don't you worry.
What are you looking for?
Oh,
Did you see that?
a maniac.
Yeah, I am. So get the fuck out of Canberra because there are a lot of us.
Good.
Yeah?
You're a maniac.
Oh!
Oh, I'm so sorry, Emma. I'm so sorry.
How's that?
You fucking idiot. You are fucked.
Can you better call the tow truck? Or you shut them all down in town. Just drive.
Hi, I have a whole bunch of new followers and I just wanted to say hello. Welcome to the shit show. I heard you liked my driving. Thanks, whoever is putting my nudes on Reddit. They're free. You haven't hacked any system. My OnlyFans is free. Go get it.
Yes, because she has an OnlyFans account as well that she promotes on her Instagram, which is, well, her Instagram itself is quite curious. One of the selfies that she put up was herself with a bong. I mean, obviously she's been vaccinated, so she obviously likes to ingest orally, other hallucinogenic substances there as well. And as you saw with her live, she's loving her newfound status as a D-grade celebrity there. I noticed because she basically looks like a stereotypical COVIDian zombie parroting, well, you'd say the Jackie Lambie line. I mean, she pretty much has the same sort of, you would say, attitude there as Jackie Lambie, but the described educated left. They're not defending her road rage and violence. She was only charged with negligent driving by the ACT police, not assault as well. Obviously, she didn't fit the left's elitist narrative there. She was just showing the effects of media brainwashing there. So she hasn't really been embraced as in the same manner that, say, somebody like Egg Boy initially was after he assaulted Fraser Anning there. Now, back in Canada, which was the inspiration for both the Canberra Convoy and the New Zealand Wellington outside Parliament convoy. A bit of an update from New Zealand first. The Speaker of the House, James Mallard, he tried to make the protesters disperse by playing Barry Manilow, but the problem is everyone's secretly a fan of Barry Manilow. I know I am, and so that would have been awesome. They also tried to get them to disperse by playing the Macarena as well, and so he took up James Blunt's suggestion that you should play some of my music to disperse people. So that's what he tried next there. But back in Canada, so the Trudeau federal government and the provincial government, a conservative government under Premier Doug Ford, using any means necessary any means at their disposal to basically try and either force the convoy members away from Ottawa or basically seize their finances and try to take away their various occupational licenses. This was a Ontario Premier Doug Ford, who is the epitome of health.
Today, I'm using my authority as Premier of Ontario to declare a state of emergency in our province. And I will convene Cabinet to use legal authorities to urgently enact orders that will make crystal clear it is illegal and punishable to block and impede the movement of goods, people, and services along critical infrastructure. This will include protecting international border crossings, 400 series highways, airports, ports, bridges, and railways. It will also include protecting the safe and essential movement of ambulatory and medical services, public transit, municipal and provincial roadways, as well as pedestrian walkways. Fines for non-compliance will be severe, with a maximum penalty of $100,000 and up to a year imprisonment. We will also provide additional authority to consider taking away the personal and commercial licenses of anyone who doesn't comply with these orders. This will not impede the rights of Ontarians to peacefully protest. It will provide additional tools to help stop the illegal occupation of Ottawa and the Ambassador Bridge in Windsor. While these emergency orders will be temporary, we have every intention to bring new legislation forward that will make these measures permanent in law.
Yes, so that was Doug Ford, the allegedly conservative premier of Ontario. And fun fact about Canadian history, Doug Ford is the brother of the late mayor of Toronto, Rob Ford, who before his death had treatment for substance abuse after he was photographed buying and smoking crack as well. And so then we heard from Justin Trudeau himself, who is back in Ottawa now. He's emerged from his hideaway, and he washed off all these blackface disguise to make this statement.
I want to make something very clear. The illegal blockades seeking to take our neighborhoods and our economy hostage, and the collective COVID fatigue we are facing are two very separate things. If you joined the protests because you're tired of COVID, you now need to understand that you are breaking laws. The consequences are becoming more and more severe. You don't want to end up losing your license, end up with a criminal record, which will impact your job, your livelihood, even your ability to travel internationally, including to the US. We've heard your frustration with COVID, with the measures that are there to keep people safe. We've heard you. It's time to go home now.
He claims that he's heard the message of the convoy members. That's why he's threatening them with all of these punishments, these fines, taking away licenses, as well. And you saw Doug Ford basically threaten the same there. We've heard the message, which is why we're going to double down and go further against you. We had Prime Minister Scott Morrison and Barnaby Joyce say that they heard the message of the Convoy members. They had a right to protest. Scott Morrison said that it's not me who's having all these mandates, it's the state premiers. Like, it's not my responsibility. I don't do mandates. But of course, he's basically turned, he's let the premiers do what they want. He's basically saying, my hands are tied, I'm just going to let them do what they want there. Now, the ACT itself doesn't have vaccine passports, neither does New South Wales. The Berejiklian and Perrottet government, as part of their reopening plan, got rid of vaccine passports on December 15, and they haven't been brought back. Though the New South Wales Labor Party, they've been critical of Perrottet, not over the removal of the passports, but the removal of the masks and QR codes for 8 days just before Christmas during the start of the Omicron wave, because apparently that led to because it wasn't mandatory to wear a mask in New South Wales for 8 days in the lead up to Christmas. That led to all the Omicron cases and deaths all around Australia over summer. And that was basically, they campaigned as mask perverts, New South Wales Labor and their leader Chris Minns, in the lead up to the 4 Super Saturday by-elections, triggered by the resignations of Parliament by former Premier Gladys Berejiklian. Her seat of Willoughby, it was retained by the Liberal Party candidate Tim James. There was a local independent who managed to get a swing to make it a marginal seat. Former Deputy Premier Nationalist leader John Barilaro, his seat of Munro was retained by the coalition, though former Transport Minister Andrew Constance, who's transitioning to federal politics to run for the federal seat of Gilmore, the Liberals lost the seat. It was won by Labor because they picked a popular local candidate who was an obstetrician to deliver babies. Then there was the seat of Strathfield, which was held by former New South Wales leader Jodie Mackay, and it was won by the Labor candidate. There was actually a swing away from Labor, Jason Yat Singh Lu, who back in 2017 praised China's President Xi Jinping's address to the World Economic Forum in Davos, when Xi Jinping said no one will emerge as a winner in a trade war. And Jason said Xi's landmark first Davos speech, free trade, climate, and openness, 3 days before 120. Nicely played, China. And to deflect criticism of his CCP sympathy, in his victory speech, Jason said, all that criticism was all anti-Chinese racism. And there were some media commentators saying, the fact that not much happened in the seat is because although the Chinese Australians, they didn't like the Morrison government's anti-China rhetoric, which is not anti-China Chinese rhetoric, it's anti-CCP, Chinese Communist Party. I think it's a bit insulting to all the Chinese Australians in Australia to just assume that they're communists. I mean, that's clearly not the case. Many of the candidates for the main anti-CCP party at the next federal election, Drew Pavlu's Democratic Alliance, many of his candidates are of Chinese descent. They are the fiercest critics of the CCP, and one of the most the most anti-CCP news outlets, the Epoch Time, is run by Chinese, but it's a typical tactic by those sympathetic to the CCP to claim that criticism of the People's Republic of China is anti-Chinese racism. Even Scott Morrison did that to deflect criticism of the Liberal member for Chisholm, Gladys Liu, her associations with Chinese community groups that have United Front links as well. Now the other superpower which the Western world is worried about, Russia. Apparently, Russia, it's imminent that they're going to invade Ukraine again. And I thought we already evacuated our embassies in Kiev. But apparently we're evacuating our embassies again because apparently Russian invasion is again imminent, even though it was, 2 or 3 weeks ago. I previously explained that Russia doesn't want to annex Ukraine. It's at most going to annex the eastern Ukrainian territories where Russian minorities live. The US State Department claimed that the Russians were planning a false flag Ukrainian attack on Russian minorities to trigger an invasion into Ukraine there. I mean, the NATO and the West they're crying wolf a lot about any second now Russia's going to invade. I could be wrong, but I don't think that there'll be a full-on invasion of Ukraine, even though the neocons in the US, the UK, and Australia would love it. Now, I'm not sure if any of you had the opportunity to watch 60 Minutes last night with Carl Stefanovic sitting down with ScoMo, his wife Jen, and also featured his girls as well. And there was the infamous ukulele playing by ScoMo of the Dragon song April Sun in Cuba. And apparently this is an official statement of they're a Kiwi band, Dragon, but they've spent a lot of time in Australia. Like many times before, Dragon is back in the headlines for all the wrong reasons. A lot of their members were heroin addicts back in the day. This time it's for the Scott Morrison MP interpretation of April Sun in Cuba, written by 2 New Zealanders living in Australia, both since passed, about a long ago diplomatic fracas on the other side of the world. It's a cynical move for a politician to co-opt music in an attempt to humanize themselves come election time. Maybe if his trip to Hawaii had not been cut short, he could have learnt the lyrics to the rest of the chorus. Take me where the April sun gonna treat me so right, so right. Yeah, so a bit of musical virtue signaling there. Neil, they're channeling Neil Young's virtue signaling there. Now, another reporter for 60 Minutes is Nick McKenzie, who did the 2-part series on the National Socialist Network, where he sent an infiltrator in, Dave Ryan, to secretly record them. He was back with what he called another installment into his Nazis Next Door series because he the White Rose Society had researched for him who one of the masked men was who burnt the Aboriginal flag and Sikh hailed afterwards as Australian Meditations, Stephanos there. So he doesn't know who the other 2 are. He hasn't got that far there. But I wonder if the White Rose Society, they got paid by Nick McKenzie for that, or Nick McKenzie gets all of the credits and maybe an award, and the Age gets the clicks, he gets his salary. And are they getting paid, the White Rose Society, or is it just they're doing slave labor for Nine Entertainment Co., a big media conglomerate? They're happy to have their work exploited like that if they think it's for a good cause there. Now, also in Victoria, we've had Dan Andrews. Well, he's directly now been accused by one of his former colleagues of being a misogynist. The Labor MLC Katoa Vagu, who is going to be expelled from the Labor Party for crossing the floor to support Adam Somniak's former Labor power brokers motion to refer the 2014 red shirts wrought to IBAC, so reopened the investigation. Now, the initial 60 Minutes expose on Adam Somniak, which saw him get kicked out of the Labor Party, was also done by Nick McKenzie. There, he's everywhere. And so Dan described this as the fantasy of another, and Treasurer Tim Pallas questioned her state of mind. But as this meme pointed out here, it's not just Labor women that have been abused under Daniel Andrews' leadership. Here are some of the faces of the Victorian women abused during Andrews' restrictions. And if you watch many of his press conferences, Dan Andrews was most aggressive and put downish to the female reporters, such as Rachel Baxendale and Gabriella Power. She's been releasing statements in response to Andrews quite regularly. Kaisa Balaoga, there's one today thanking people for their support. She's claimed that her bullying allegations weren't taken seriously. She said she was motivated to speak out because Daniel Andrews referred to her as that person. He's not going to he said, we've heard enough from that person. He didn't say that woman because Dan Andrews believes in gender fluidity, so just called her that person. Didn't refer to her by a gender. We all remember Kath Andrews' tweet saying, going for a walk with my person. Now, so I guess that's one response that Dan Andrews can claim, that he's not a misogynist because he doesn't believe in gender. But it's sort of clear that, well, it seems to us that he views those of more estrogen appearances as weaker and able to bully because he is a bully. And it seems that those who have estrogen hormones, he thinks easier to bully and intimidate there. So that's my conclusion there. Thank you, everyone, for watching Tim's News Explosion. Back on Monday. I've gone way over time again. I don't think it's ever going to be a 30-minute show again. But I'll be back later in the week on Thursday for another episode of Wilms Front featured interview program. I'll be speaking with Septimus Kane, a Christian artist who is trapped in Mark McGowan's Western Australia, who's done some deep diving into Mark McGowan's CCP links. It's not just Dan Andrews, who's a CCP wheeler and dealer. It's also Mark McGowan as well. So I'll be going into that with her on Thursday. And then, of course, so that's 8:30 p.m. Melbourne time on the Wilms Front channel. And then Trad Tasman talk with Stephen Berry, 6 p.m. Melbourne time on the Unshackled YouTube channel on Friday. And more reports from Tiger Mountain with Richard Wollstonecraft will be published on both YouTube and Odyssey, because Richard's next report, the draft version, was already deleted from YouTube, so it'll be an Odyssey exclusive. I'll say no more. Good night, everybody, and I'll see you later in the week on Thursday.
Tim's News Explosion. 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 Tim's News